think it's a sad, but this was an isolated incident. And I will say, in my 30 years of working at the Hospital Association and representing our hospitals in the state, um, this is the first time something has occurred like this.
March 1st, 2026 should have been a day of joy at Baptist Health Brookwood Hospital in Homewood, Alabama. A new life had entered the world, bringing hope, love, and the promise of the future. But instead, a tragedy unfolded that would shock a community and leave a newborn orphaned before even taking their first breath in this world. Several gunshots would be heard in the maternity ward, a place meant for life and celebration. Mothers held their babies, doctors and nurses moved in a flurry, and panic swept through the hospital halls. By the time law enforcement arrived, the unthinkable had already happened. Precious Johnson, just 24 years old, had been shot dead while recovering on her hospital bed. But something more horrifying had happened. Just a few feet from Precious's bed was a male, lifeless body. This was not the result of a random attack. No intruder had breached hospital security. No stranger had entered the maternity ward with malicious intent. The man who killed Precious Johnson was none other than her husband, the father of her newborn child. Just a few moments earlier, he had posted on social media how excited he was to welcome his baby to the world. But before we focus on the day this horrifying crime took place, let me tell you who Precious Johnson was and what led to the horror in that hospital room. Precious Elisha Janae Johnson was only 24 years old when her life was taken. Her mother, Trista Roberts, shared on social media as she reflected on the significance of her daughter's birth on September 11, 2001. That day was one of the darkest in American history, marked by the terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center in New York City and the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. As the nation mourned, Trista welcomed her daughter into the world, believing from the very beginning that Precious was destined to be someone special. Precious grew up with resilience, shaped by the weight of her birth date and the values instilled by her family. In 2024, she joined the U.S. Navy, committing herself to service and discipline. Her time in the military reflected her determination to build a meaningful future and to contribute to something larger than herself. Precious also pursued a new path. She became a nail technician, a profession that allowed her to express her creativity and connect with people in her community. Friends remembered her as warm, approachable, and dedicated, someone who worked hard to provide for her family while still carrying herself with grace and kindness. Very little has been publicly disclosed about her early life, but what is known is that she had recently married Kenneth William Terry Jr. The couple had their first child together just days before the tragedy struck. According to Kenneth's mother, Precious did not want Kenneth's family present for the birth, a choice that seems ordinary but now adds to the mystery surrounding the events that unfolded. It is unclear if any of Precious's family was at the hospital during the shooting. Their presence or absence remains part of the ongoing investigation. Kenneth William Terry Jr. was only 19 years old. He graduated from Midfield High School, where during his senior year he was recognized for his hard work and dedication. In February of that year, he was selected as Employee of the Month for HVAC at the Academy of Craft Training in Birmingham, Alabama, a program that prepared young people for skilled trades and careers. After high school, Kenneth pursued a career in the military. He went into training with the Alabama Army National Guard, where he specialized as a diesel mechanic. His commitment to building a future was evident in the long hours he worked, often more than 50 hours a week, balancing multiple jobs that included cutting hair to earn extra income. Those who knew him described him as determined, ambitious, and willing to put in the effort to support himself and his new family. Shortly after completing his training, Kenneth entered into marriage. At a young age, he was already trying to juggle the responsibilities of adulthood, work, service, and family. His path reflected a young man striving to establish stability and purpose, carving out a place for himself in both his community and his household. Neighbors and family described the couple as young, newly married, and expecting the joys and challenges of their first child. But leading up to the birth, they reportedly had marital difficulties. According to Kyneth's mother, however, nothing indicated he could become violent. At 19, Kyneth had taken on the responsibilities of husband and father, stepping into adulthood under extraordinary circumstances, but tragically, he did so with consequences no one could have foreseen. Neighbors in Homewood described the couple as normal, quiet, and respectful, the type of young family you'd see in any community, raising children, building their lives, and navigating the challenges of young parenthood. From the outside, nothing appeared out of place. But on that day in the maternity ward, the domestic violence that had remained hidden erupted into an irreversible act of violence. Precious Johnson had been admitted to Baptist Health Brookwood Women's Medical Center to deliver her baby, little Aliyah. For Precious, this was supposed to be the beginning of a new chapter, a moment filled with hope, joy, and the promise of the motherhood. But tragically, she would not live long enough to see her baby girl grow up. At around 9:30 p.m., Precious's husband, Kyneth William Terry Jr., arrived on the 5th floor of the hospital, but he did not come empty-handed. In his possession was a hidden weapon, a symbol of violence that would soon shatter the fragile peace of the maternity ward. Within minutes of entering Precious's room, the man she had trusted most turned into her executioner. He cruelly shot her multiple times, ending her life in the very place where she had just given life, and while lying in her recovery bed. But the horror did not stop there. After taking Precious's life, Kyneth turned the gun on himself. In an instant, he ended his own life, leaving behind a newborn child who would never know her parents. The baby, Aliyah, survived, but she was thrust into the world orphaned, her first hours marked not by celebration, but by tragedy. The hospital, a place meant to safeguard life, became the scene of death. Nurses, doctors, and patients were left in shock, struggling to comprehend how such violence could erupt in a space dedicated to healing. As soon as shots rang out in the maternity ward of Baptist Health Brookwood Hospital, officers from the Homewood Police Department responded within minutes. The hospital went into immediate lockdown. New mothers and their newborns were evacuated, medical staff scrambled to secure patients, and the hospital halls filled with confusion and terror.
Well, family members are devastated after a new mother was shot and killed by her husband, who then took his own life. It all happened in Brookwood Hospital less than 24 hours ago. A Jefferson County coroner's report says Precious Johnson was shot multiple times. Authorities say she was a patient in the hospital. Family members say the 24-year-old had just had a baby with her husband, 19-year-old Kyneth Terry Jr. According to the coroner, Terry died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Homewood police think the hospital shooting was a domestic-related murder-suicide. WVTM 13's Lisa Crane joins us live and local from Brookwood Hospital. Lisa, you spoke with family members in the Alabama Hospital Association today.
The police quickly discovered the bodies of Precious Johnson and Kyneth Terry Jr. inside the maternity ward. Precious fatally shot, and Kyneth with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The infant, miraculously unharmed, remained in the hospital nursery, unaware of the tragedy that had just claimed both parents. Detectives began piecing together the events. Homewood police classified the incident as an apparent domestic-related murder-suicide. There were no indications of outside intrusion, and no evidence of forced entry had been found. Initial reports emphasized the domestic nature of the crime: a young couple, a newborn, and a tragedy that had erupted in what should have been a safe, celebratory space. But investigators immediately faced challenges. They had no witnesses besides the infant, no surveillance footage inside the ward publicly released, and both primary parties deceased. Law enforcement quickly reached out to both families for statements. Kyneth's mother revealed that the couple had been experiencing marital issues in the weeks leading up to the birth. Yet she emphasized that nothing in her knowledge suggested that her son could commit an act of such violence. Precious Johnson's family remained private, grieving in silence. Local media respected their wishes, refraining from publishing unverified images or details about her background beyond the confirmed facts. She was 24-year-old and had recently married Kyneth and had just given birth to her first child. As word of the tragedy spread, social media became a storm of speculation. Social media was quick to fill comment sections with questions about the 5-year age gap between the couple. Precious was 24, Kyneth only 19. Many asked when the relationship began. Did they meet while Kyneth was still in high school? Was there something in their early relationship that contributed to the tragedy? Multiple commenters would go on to make unverified claims. Many suggest the relationship extended back to a period when Kyneth was still a minor. These theories remain unconfirmed, and police have not released a timeline or any evidence to substantiate these claims. What is confirmed is that the couple was married, had a child together, and that the horrific act took place shortly after the birth of that child. Another point of speculation centers on paternity. Within hours of the news breaking, online discussions raised the possibility that Kyneth may have doubted whether the baby was his. Some social media posts claimed Precious Johnson had removed him from her life, or that financial or relational disputes had escalated. Again, these rumors remain unverified. Police have not confirmed paternity concerns, and no DNA testing information has been released. What is known is that under Alabama law, children born within a marriage are legally presumed to be the husband's child, regardless of any doubts. Additionally, as a member of the Alabama Army National Guard, Kyneth would have been legally responsible for his child, including financial obligations and benefits. The law offered him no simple escape from parenthood, and any dispute over paternity would have required a lengthy court process. What was more unsettling was that before the shooting, Kyneth appeared publicly excited about the birth. Text messages that surfaced on social media show him celebrating with friends from the hospital. He sent photos and messages to friends expressing pride and joy. At the time, he appeared proud, happy, and engaged in the milestones of early fatherhood. However, in the hours that followed, something changed in Kyneth. Between that initial celebration and the tragic events of March 1st, something had shifted in Kyneth, something evil. What transpired in that hospital room remains mystery. Whether a conversation, a sudden emotional revelation, or an unresolved conflict prompted the fatal action, no one knows. Only the two victims could confirm that, and now they are gone. An ambiguous Facebook post from Kyneth's uncle stated, "Those 7 words are the closest publicly known suggestion of a potential motive, yet no further explanation was given. Investigators have not confirmed what may have triggered the sudden escalation from joy to fatal violence. What unfolded inside the hospital maternity ward was swift and final. Precious Johnson, after giving birth, was shot multiple times. Kyneth Terry took his own life at the scene. Law enforcement describes this as a domestic act, not the result of a random encounter or criminal intrusion. The Jefferson County Coroner's Office confirmed the deaths, while Homewood Police continued their investigation. Details about the immediate triggers, the final conversation, or what preceded the shooting remain unknown. Questions remain about the hospital's security. The Homewood Police Department, in collaboration with the Jefferson County Coroner's Office, began a thorough investigation. Officers sought to reconstruct a timeline. When did Kyneth enter the maternity ward with a firearm? How did he bring it past hospital security? Who, if anyone, interacted with the couple prior to the shooting? Preliminary evidence confirmed that both parents died at the scene and that no other individuals were physically harmed. Baptist Health Brookwood has not released specifics about their security measures, and Alabama has no state mandates requiring metal detectors, bag checks, or other preventative protocols in hospitals.
Say in my 30 years of working at the Hospital Association and representing our hospitals in the state, this is the first time something has occurred like this.
The Alabama Hospital Association stated that this incident is unprecedented and isolated in their experience, highlighting the challenges of predicting such acts of domestic violence within healthcare facilities. An after-action review by the hospital is expected to determine what worked, what failed, and how similar tragedies can be prevented in the future. The youngest witness to this violence was the newborn infant present in the hospital nursery. Presumably, grandparents or other relatives assumed custody immediately, but no public details have been confirmed regarding guardianship. The infant's future is now uncertain, and the emotional toll on extended family, friends, and the community is immeasurable. Precious Johnson's family has chosen to remain private, releasing few details to the public. Kyneth's family has provided minimal information, mostly through brief statements to local media. As the investigation unfolded, the community reacted with grief, confusion, and fear. Homewood residents were stunned that a murder could take place in such a protected and intimate environment. Local neighbors and friends shared memories of Precious's warmth and kindness. The tragedy left an emotional imprint not only on the families, but on the entire city, highlighting the hidden dangers of domestic violence, even in young, seemingly happy marriages. Authorities continued to review Kyneth's background. His service in the Alabama Army National Guard, his recent completion of basic training, and his transition into married life all raised questions about the pressures he faced. Investigators examined whether stress, emotional instability, or other underlying factors might have contributed to his actions. However, no prior history of domestic violence or criminal behavior had been documented for either party. Meanwhile, online discussions continued to speculate about motives. Some proposed financial disputes, others focused on the timing of the birth, and many returned to the questions of age and paternity. Law enforcement reiterated that none of these theories had been confirmed, cautioning the public against drawing conclusions from rumors.
Homewood Mayor Jennifer Andrus is reacting to what she says is an active investigation, saying police acted quickly to secure the scene and ensure there was no ongoing threat to the public.
Legal experts noted that the case was complicated by the fact that both parents were deceased. With a murder-suicide, there would be no criminal trial and no formal prosecution for the act itself. Instead, the focus shifted to procedural accountability, examining whether hospital protocols could have prevented the tragedy, whether staff had opportunities to intervene, and whether any warning signs were missed in the couple's history. The Jefferson County Coroner's Office, in collaboration with Homewood Police, worked to document the events in a way that would support these reviews, highlighting that the death of a newborn's parents was an exceptional circumstance in their records. Psychologists and domestic violence experts weighed in, highlighting the dangers inherent in intimate partner conflicts, especially surrounding the stress of childbirth. The case underscored how domestic violence can escalate unexpectedly, even in relationships with no documented history of aggression. Experts emphasized early interventions, counseling, and monitoring as essential, particularly when new parents are under emotional and financial stress. They also noted the added complexity of military service obligations, as Kyneth Terry's position in the Alabama Army National Guard introduced layers of legal and familial responsibilities, including presumptions of paternity and financial accountability for the child. A GoFundMe campaign has been created by Precious's mother, Trista Roberts. The fundraiser was launched to help cover funeral expenses and immediate care and necessities for baby Aliyah. Trista Roberts shared that the campaign is not only about easing the financial burden, but also about honoring her daughter's memory and ensuring that Precious's baby receives the care and stability she deserves. The page reflects the family's grief, their love for Precious, and their hope that the community will rally around them in this time of unimaginable loss. Precious Johnson's funeral services were held on March 14th at Faith Memorial Chapel in Bessemer, Alabama. Family, friends, and members of the community gathered to honor her life, mourning the loss of a young mother whose story had touched so many. The chapel was filled with grief, but also with love, as those closest to her remembered her warmth, her laughter, and the hope she carried for her newborn daughter. The service became not only a farewell, but a moment of collective reflection, a reminder of how fragile life can be and how deeply violence can wound a family and community. Meanwhile, funeral arrangements were announced for Kyneth William Terry Jr. His service was scheduled for March 8th at First Baptist Kingston, where family and friends gathered to mourn and reflect on the tragedy that unfolded. The tragedy of March 1st, 2026 leaves unanswered questions, yet it also highlights patterns of domestic violence, the vulnerabilities of young families, and the unpredictable nature of human behavior. While speculation fills online forums, the confirmed facts are devastating enough. A 24-year-old mother is dead, her 19-year-old husband is dead, and a newborn infant is left without either parent. Police continue to seek information from the public that might shed light on the events leading to the shooting. The community mourns, the investigation continues, and the baby remains the living testament to the lives lost in that maternity ward. This is not just another news story. This is a story of life abruptly ended, of trust betrayed, and of questions that may never find answers. The scene of death in a place meant for life will forever haunt those who knew Precious. A hospital room, meant to cradle new beginnings, became the setting of her final moments. Just hours after bringing her child into the world, she was taken from it in an act of violence that no one could have imagined.
Her story is not only about tragedy, but about the fragility of trust and the devastating consequences of domestic violence. The cries of a newborn, spared but left without a mother, echo as a reminder of what was lost. For her family, for her community, and for all who hear her name, Precious Johnson's death is a call to confront the dangers that can lurk even in spaces of safety. In remembering her, we honor the life she lived, the child she brought into the world, and the hope that her story will inspire change. Precious deserved more than to be remembered for how she died. She deserves to be remembered for the love she carried, the life she gave, and the reminder that even in the darkest moments, we must fight to protect those most vulnerable. What do you think about it? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story intriguing, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.